obviously I love this book. I can't wait to do it again with my kids. Hey guys, today I am going to be doing a video about all of the subjects that my children and I will be doing all together. Well, most of us anyway. I have a first grader, a fifth grader, and an eighth grader. My first grader is not going to be doing all of these things with us, but we're trying the family style this year. I want to talk about this Apologia, Who is God? It's part of a 4-part series, and this is the first of the series, Who is God? The second one is Who am I? The third one is Who is my neighbor? And the fourth one is What on earth can I do? The Who is God series. Day one, read the big idea and what will you do? Read the short story and discuss the questions. Think about it. So 3 days a week is what is suggested here. Here's lesson 1, the big idea. The great architect, what will you do? And here is the think about it discussion questions. So only a few pages to go over together. Very colorful, very easy to follow. Any sort of foundation about our faith needs to start with God and who He is, because it helps us understand then who we are. Everything going on in the world right now feels so crazy. I just thought this is the perfect time to start this with my children. If we do anything in our homeschool, it should be, did we bring glory to God? In our homeschool, did we point our children to Him? This is the most important subject to teach them. So that's the textbook, the student notebook. So this is the lesson 1, just some questions to think about. I'm thinking this could be on their own, like as a quiet devotional. Think about how sand feels in your hands and beneath your feet. So now they're going to be thinking about the parable of the builders building their house on sand versus the rock. And what does that mean practically? We need to think about what the Lord was trying to teach us with that. And by thinking about actual sand and actual rock. Words to know. This won't be required. Obviously, this will be, if my children want to find some words, then there you go. Write the verse out. Find instructions on page 221. Attach your finished mini book here. So they'll be making a mini book, applied glue. So folding these, writing inside these books. It's kind of neat. Another little activity. Just a fun way to make sure they're understanding the concepts that we're learning. And like I said, the lesson plans are all in the front of this book, clearly laid out. So this will allow for some independent, like I said, quiet time, devotional time, and there are 54 lessons. So depending on how many times a week will depend on how quickly you get through this particular book. You can move on to the Who am I, Who is my neighbor, or add in another Bible study. I'm not really sure what we're going to do. I did not purchase the notebook for my first grader. I figure she can just use a spiral bound notebook and draw what she learned. I'm looking forward to starting our day with that, as well as our morning basket, which I haven't figured out yet. There's a homeschool site, Not Consumed. She also has a lot of really great Bible studies for kids. I have the sibling study there. We may get into that at some point this year, and if we do, I'll let you know how it goes. So check her out also for Bible study. I've done another video about our Gather Around Earth Science unit, so I will link that below. We are doing that together, and I bought that mostly for science and for history, but it also involves some writing and grammar and a little bit of art in there. I've never done Gather Around before, so I don't know how much time it's going to take, so I have added on all kinds of other things, but I am going to let Gather Around be our guide. If it ends up being a lot, then I will be okay cutting out some of these other things. If it ends up not being enough, then I will have things ready to go to implement. We are also going to be doing a Gather Round unit on the U.S. government. It's an election year. learning about history is different than learning about how our government works. So I am really looking forward to seeing how this plays out, especially incorporating my first grader all the way up through junior high and talking about it together. And I have it planned in our year so that we will be finishing it up right at election time. So when we go to the polls, they can go with me. That is a mini unit though, I will say. So that is not going to incorporate science and as much writing. So I did feel like while we are doing the government mini unit, I need to supplement with something else. So I'm going to try the Good and the Beautiful Marine Biology Science Unit. So the Good and the Beautiful Marine Biology, again, this was a free download. It has 13 lessons. They recommend it twice a week. So this isn't twice a week, so 13 lessons. This is going to be a quick 5 or 6 week unit unless you do it even faster. They give you all the supplies you need up front. I spilled something. So you can collect all of these up front if you would like. I already cut out these colorful pieces that are needed for games and activities so they're ready to go. And obviously I just put a page protector in here to keep it with the lesson that it goes with. For each lesson, it tells you preparation. I already did the picture activity cards. Anything else that you may need to prepare and which supplies you're going to need. There's some optional read alouds. You can read this to your children, then go over the picture activity with them. There's vocabulary words, which I have cut out all of those and put those in a bigger pocket in the back. So these are all my vocabulary words for all of my units. And these are all of my mini books already cut out and ready to go for each unit. So I will let my kids like staple these and actually make them into a book or however they want to do it. But at least they're already cut out. So there's where it references the mini book, some more vocab words or vocab word practice, an activity like a science experiment, a coloring activity, and optional videos. So there are videos on YouTube that are suggested here that we could watch together. And here is the coloring sheet. I printed out 3 for each of my children. So I did have to go through this, and from what I understand, if you order from the Good and the Beautiful, all of this will come in a package, but you will have to go through each lesson and decide, do I need multiple copies for this because I have multiple children? And you will have to do all of these cutouts still, but everything will be printed. You won't have to take it to an office store. So this is just brief. Expensive though, I will say. This is for kindergarten through 8th grade, an inclusive science curriculum that includes all kinds of experiments. I think they recommend doing it twice a week. We'll see what we end up doing. We only have those 2 gather round units chosen and that one, the Good and the Beautiful Science unit, chosen because I really would like to see how I feel about these new curriculums. And then probably around Thanksgiving is when I'll have to decide what else we're doing, if we're going to stick with gather round and choose some more units, or if I might want to do something different for history and do the Good and the Beautiful Science, or switch to something else. So stay tuned and I'll give you a review. I also thought as I was making my plan for the year, I used an Excel spreadsheet and kind of created myself a timeline that said, here's when we're doing this unit, here's when we're doing this unit. And I thought there was a little bit of prep that I needed for each gather round unit. And then there's going to be some prep for the Good and the Beautiful Science unit. So I planned for us to have a week gap in between when we're switching units for planning. So what am I going to do for history during that week? I will tell you. First of all, our library has such great history DVDs and documentaries and books. We're going to grab all kinds of those types of things for history. But then I have this book. So American Pioneers and Patriots, we did this with My Father's World when my son was in 3rd grade. And as an adult, I loved this book. It was very simple, it was very easy, but very, very engaging stories. So there are 12 units, and there's one little story a day. They're not long at all. And at the end of each unit, there are some activities. This was Leaving Spain, so a little story about these 2 Spanish children in 1565 and what it was like to leave Spain and be on a ship. Again, it's fictional, but lots of thought-provoking ideas here. There was a storm while they were on the ship, and there was water coming in. And one of the things I remember from this story is the little boy's father had decided that he was mature enough to receive a knife from his father, and what a awesome gift that was for the son to receive. And during the storm, that knife ended up saving them. It ended up wedging the door closed and keeping the water from coming in. So then at the end of each unit, there are some lessons about how people lived on the sailing ships. There's some things to do. You could do, you don't have to do these. Some review questions here, ties it into the Bible. You could draw a ship like the one that Pedro and Catalina were on their way to America. You could collect pictures of all kinds of ships, put an exhibit on a bulletin board. So you could dive a little bit deeper with this. Very, very simple unit, but allows a lot of freedom to explore whatever the simple concept is that they are coming across here, that they are trying to teach. Building the railroad, so westward expansion. So anytime that we have a gap for preparing for a new unit, or we need a break or something, I'm going to use this book. So this is American Pioneers and Patriots. One thing that I really loved about this book when we did it before was it really made me think about when this country was founded and these people came over as immigrants. They didn't come over and just get themselves an apartment or get themselves a house or go to the grocery store and stock up their home for the long winter ahead. It wasn't like that. They had to go chop down their own trees and build their own houses and kill their own food and grow their own food. These were just, obviously, I love this book. I can't wait to do it again. The other thing that I really wanted to incorporate with my kids this year was poetry. It's something that I missed teaching my kids, and when I was younger, it was one of my favorite things to do. So we're going to be writing poetry. I ordered this from Amazon. It's an Evan Moore. It says grades 1 through 6, but my junior higher, he's not known for his creativity. He's a little bit more analytical and straightforward. So this will be a stretch for him. It'll be okay that this only goes through grade 6. I made copies for my children of the things that we're going to go over, but this is laid out. This is kind of like a teacher's guide, and then there were reproducibles in here. But I would talk to them about, we would read this poem together, explain to them what a couplet is and how to write it, and then together select a topic of interest, like a cat. And then we would start using that subject and brainstorming together. And then they can use these worksheets that I have printed out to write their own poem. Think about your topic, decide what you want to tell. It's kind of just the guide for them. And then this worksheet to help them do it. And we're going to make our own poetry books. So I have copies for each of my children for that. We will be doing it together. And then depending on how this goes, if they are really into it and they want to learn more, then I also have this book, which is a little bit more advanced. There's no worksheets here. I will have to be much more creative in giving them assignments for this. But personification, imagery, alliteration, and onomatopoeia, I'm okay with teaching them these if they really find that they're into poetry. So there are some activities in here. I'll have to see if I can make this into a worksheet somehow, or if we just do it together. So this one is metaphors, writing metaphors. Heart of gold, that's a common one we do. Jaws of steel, those are all metaphors. So practicing writing that. There's some poetry in here we can go over. Going over similes. We actually go over similes and metaphors also in our IEW writing program. So both of my older children are familiar with this, and the Bible is full of similes and metaphors. So I think I got this book off of Thrift Books, or I got it used somewhere. It's clearly used. Writing Poetry by Shelley Tucker. The last subject I want to show you is only for my older two children, and really for my middle child, but since I said I'm not sure how Gather Round is going to go, I'm not sure how deep it goes into language arts, writing, grammar, and all that, I am prepared to involve my junior high son into what I'm also going to do with my 5th grader. I had heard a couple years ago from a couple YouTube channels on actual classroom teachers that I watch about interactive notebooks, and they were intriguing to me, especially since I have a kinesthetic learner in my 5th grader. She isn't great at sitting still and just listening. She needs to move her hands, she needs to move around, she needs to be creative. So I thought for her memorizing parts of speech, for her memorizing prepositions and verbs and what kinds of verbs are there, that this interactive notebook would really be great for her. So I got this, and again, going to push my son out of his comfort zone and have him do this as well. It's kind of like melding together your grammar practice and grammar review with a little art project. So let me show you. This is for grades 4 through 8. You can see a notebook here. The most that I have seen online about this suggests using a composition notebook, because the spiral ones, pages will get yucky. The spiral gets all yuck. But do not tear these pages out or the binding won't hold anymore. But this is going to be the sturdiest for an interactive notebook. So I've already torn all of these out and made copies according to what we're going to need. So this is how we'll do our first lesson. So this is the parts of speech. There's a template here. They can color, and then they cut them out, they glue, they fold this over, and they glue it inside their notebook. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. And then on the inside, they'll be writing the definition of each thing. So a fun way to practice your grammar and all these things. They also have practice in here for grammar and spelling rules, quotation marks, some worksheets here to practice. We'll cut those out probably and put them in our notebooks. So the notebook is kind of going to be like creating your big long study guide. So this is 4 types of sentences: declarative, imperative, exclamatory, and interrogative. Again, my children aren't very familiar with those 4 types of sentences, but this will be a fun way to practice it. Subject and predicate, more fun, interactive practice. Interactive because whenever you're studying, you're going to be flipping them open. So like I said, I just thought this would be great for my kinesthetic learner, and it will be pushing my son out of his comfort zone. So this looks like a layered type flat book for compound subject and compound predicates. Simple and compound sentences. Great, great, great visual there. So that is our activity idea for practicing our grammar and our rules. For her writing, also with CC, we did Institute for Excellence in Writing curriculum, and CC always does history-based writing. I didn't really want to do that. Again, I wanted to do something different, but I couldn't decide. But I already had this teaching, writing, structure and style notebook. This is the teaching, writing, structure and style from IEW. I highly recommend that you also get the DVDs of Andrew Pudewa teaching every unit. He's very entertaining, very easy to watch. And if you're new to IEW, it'll be very, very helpful as you try to communicate this to your children. This book comes with these tabs. So this is Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Every year we'll try to get through 9 units. The 9th unit is a little bit more mature. It's persuasive writing. It's doing like character analysis from books. So if you have very young kids, Unit 9 you could probably just wait on. This is all about teaching them how to write from a keyword outline. So they have a source text, which I will show you in my daughter's binder. So this is my daughter's notebook where we're keeping all the things that need to be kept. These are the things that I printed out from my free download from the TWSS guide. So there are already sheets in there for keyword outlines for every single unit. So I have these ready to go so she has practice. The irregular verb forms, just all these outlines that are in their history-based writing notebooks. And then I printed out all of the text that it also included. So for units 1 and 2, there were so many source texts. I couldn't decide for my kids, so I just went ahead and printed them all since it was all black and white. So one thing about the TWSS guide is it does, in fact, let me show you since I have the camera flipped around. It does tell you how you can scale the lesson for grade 1, for grade 2 and 3, for grades 4 and up. Now, I have never done that before because NCC, they only teach this for 4th through 6th grade, so I've never tried it with younger grades. But since it's here and I have a hungry for knowledge 1st grader, I thought, well, if she's interested, I have source text ready to go for her also. So something simple like this, who knows? Who knows what she may be able to do? So I just printed off all of these, and then they'll use that outline form that I showed you before. There's examples of drafts and how it was edited in here. There's checklists, because as you go along with IEW, they're teaching you about adding dress up. So add an ly adverb to at least one every paragraph. We also have this notebook that we printed from a free download from IEW, the student resource packet. This is an amazing notebook. So this is also kind of all of the units in here and how to do them. But the one thing that I really love about this notebook, they give you word lists. So when we write a paper and we know, okay, we need to now try to look to add an ly adverb somewhere, we can go to this word list and say, what sentence do we want to dress up? He ran down the street. Well, how did he run down the street? Did he run calmly down the street? Did he run delightfully down the street? Did he run ferociously? See, no matter whichever ly adverb you add can change the whole mood of your sentence. He ran sympathetically down the street because he was chasing somebody whose feelings were hurt, or he ran playfully down the street because he saw his friend. So this style and teaching them to think about how to add it, a who, which clause, the boy who was being a bully ran playfully down the street without a care in the world. A strong verb. So strong verbs are like banning, don't use said, don't use dad said to do it. You would replace said with a strong verb like dad yelled, do it, or dad whispered, do it. Again, it changes the meaning of the sentence. It gives you more description about what's actually going on than just said. So this is what I love about IEW, and these checklists really help them think about what it is they're trying to do. Once you go further along, or this is unit 3, so this is for a upper age child, but also further along in the units, they encourage you to add different sentence openers. So don't just start every sentence with subject, then verb, subject, verb, subject, verb. Start one sentence in every paragraph with a prepositional phrase. In the morning, the boy ran delightfully down the street. Or start a sentence with an ly adverb. Delightfully, the boy ran down the street. Or starting it with an ing opener. Running down the street, the boy was singing. One thing Andrew Pudois says is make sure in your ing opener, the next word is the thing doing the ing. So whoever is running should be after the comma, the thing doing the ing. Get it? Those Andrew Pudois videos are really, really great. So if you get this curriculum, you should get the DVDs. They will really help you become an effective teacher, and you will learn a lot as an adult. When we did this program our very first year, I felt like I learned how to write better. And I am so much more cognizant of the style and making sure that I have descriptive words and strong verbs. And so that's our plan. And I will see you next time. Bye.